Does your wife want to Mothman? Cause mine might.
Who the starts a conversation like that? I just sat down.
It is November 15th, 1966. Two couples named Roger and Linda Scarberry and Steve and Mary Millette saw a large black creature whose eyes were glowing red. This creature was reportedly near Route 62 by the TNT area of the former World War II munitions plant in Point Pleasant, West Virginia. After sighting the monster, they would apparently try to flee by going well over 100 miles per hour. Now look, this is the 1960s. Cars were not that safe if you consider today's standards. Seatbelts were not mandated until approximately 1968, and the airbags were a couple years after that. The cars of that time may have been all steel, but a crash at that speed would still hurt, if not be fatal. Getting back on topic, even though they were driving at ridiculous and dangerous speeds, reports claim that this creature was able to not only keep up, but surpass them.
What?
The creature followed them until they reached the National Guard Armory on Route 62 and stopped around there. The next crazy thing these two couples decided to do was turn around. Now look, if I'm driving at night and I see a monster that can scare me enough to go 100 miles an hour, the first thing I would want to do is turn around and get another look. But the 60s were a different time with different people, I guess. After turning around to get another look, this creature would apparently fly over the car and scurry through a field to get away. They reasoned that maybe it was afraid of the light from the car's headlights, but this would allow them to get a better look at the creature. The previously stated black would be corrected to light gray, the eyes would still be glowing red, but only in direct light, and it would stand approximately 6 to 7 and it would stand approximately 6 to 7 feet tall, and have a wingspan of 10 feet. This large creature would later be dubbed as Mothman. While this was the first report in the newspaper, it was not the first appearance of our beloved Mothman. One source states that he was seen a day or two prior from a Newell Patridge in Salem, West Virginia. His account comes from The Mothman Prophecies, written by John Keel in 1975. But we'll get back to that later. Mr. Patridge claims that he heard his German Shepherd named Bandit barking. When he went to check on his dog, he saw him running into the nearby woods chasing a pair of glowing red eyes. When he was able to track down the paw prints in the woods, all he would be able to find is the paw prints coming to a sudden stop with Bandit nowhere in sight. Another possible claim of the first sighting would be in Clendon, West Virginia, by 5 grave diggers. They claim to see a brown, human-like creature flying overhead, but I could not find much on this source. So far we have 2 possible first sightings in Clendon and Salem, with the third leading up to Point Pleasant. Going back to the first written report on the night of November 15th, 1966, 2 newspaper articles would come out the next day. One from the Mason Counts Daily newspaper, which is the more popular image of the reporting. The other would be a newspaper from Athens, Ohio, from a journalist, Mary Heyer, who would later team up with John Keel and share research notes and different sources. Over the next year, hundreds of different sightings would start appearing all over Point Pleasant, leading up to the fateful day of December 15th, 1967, during rush hour traffic, where a steel beam would rupture and the Silver Bridge would end up collapsing, killing 46 and injuring 9 more. Mary would have just gotten off of work and happened to be nearby when she heard the panic at the scene. After arriving and getting statements, over a dozen people claimed to have seen Mothman just before and after the incident, leading many people to believe that he had something to do with the collapse. After this terrible tragedy, Mothman would disappear almost without a trace. Mary Heyer and John Keel would continue to work together, trying to gather as much information as they can, ultimately starting to believe that Mothman is of extraterrestrial origins. Mary would continue to work at the newspaper, writing multiple articles focusing on aliens, with John Keel and even appearing on TV a couple times until her passing February 15th, 1970. John would continue the groundwork and would write the previously stated Mothman Prophecies, which is a large collection of different events that could lead back to Mothman. His writings would later get its own movie starring Richard Gere in 2002 with the same name. This piece of writing and the movie would skyrocket Mothman's popularity into the mainstream and create a tourist boom for Point Pleasant, West Virginia. John would later pass away on July 3rd, 2009. Since then, the town has had a yearly Mothman festival that only continues to grow, and a Mothman museum opened in 2006 by Jeff Wamsley. Ramsley would be a longtime Mothman follower and published many articles about Mothman even before opening up his museum. He has given many speeches and interviews and wants to share his passion for Mothman with all who would listen. Ramsley even estimated that the festival would have grown to over 10,000 people back in 2019 if a lot of events did not shut down. Mothman would do a great job at remaining hidden throughout the decades with little to no reportings of him up until as early as 2011 when out of nowhere a truck driver near O'Hare International Airport would catch a glimpse of a tall, bird-like entity, but this was only the beginning. Over the next 9 years, 55 more reports would come out from firemen to security officers. But some believed it was only hallucinations, others started believing again. Hell. I need to learn to read. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Do you think Mothman is an extraterrestrial being, or is he just a man with a cape? If you liked the video, leave a like. If you want to see more, hit that subscribe button. And if you have questions, comments, concerns, or suggestions, consider leaving a comment. Until next time, catch you later.